Before we get into today's video, I want to give you a warm welcome to episode 2 of Move More. Today I'm going for a long, easy run and a swim later this evening. And as the title of this video suggests, we're going to be exploring my 5k a day for 365 days consecutively. So the biggest ingredient, the biggest factor in running every day is the why. It applies to a lot of things in life. If you don't have a why, you don't have any reason to turn up. And so for me, if I had to boil it down to 2 points, the first... Okay, so I've probably ruined the dynamic of this video. I've probably made it a little confusing, but I'm stood outside London Stadium, which is where I did a lot of my running, like this person here. So picking up where we left off, why? First and foremost, mental benefits. Running isn't easy, and that applies especially when you first start out. And so by almost forcing yourself to go out on these runs, you're building resilience, you're building character. Researching into this video, I came across what I personally believe to be a staggering statistic. In 2017, here in England, 17% of the adult population were prescribed an antidepressant. That's almost 1 in 5 adults here in England. And again, this was recorded 5 years ago before the pandemic. There are some really exciting studies which show that conducting regular exercise is as effective, if not more effective, than antidepressants. And to reiterate, running has massively, drastically improved my mental health, and running is at the core of that. So moving on, the second benefit is physical. So I've struggled with my weight for as long as I can remember. I've never been consistent with exercise. And so at the start of last year, I told myself I was going to live in a body that felt good and looked good. And I know there are much healthier ways of achieving this without having to run every single day. But I don't know, I think it's a good practice at times to dive headfirst into something without meticulously planning every little detail, and that's what it was for me. It was an adventure. But in terms of me, I'm the most able I have ever been in my life. I can run far, I can run fast. I'm lifting the heaviest weights I've ever lifted, and I'm not saying this as a flex. If anything, I want this to inspire you guys to start a fitness journey of your own. It's truly as simple as that. I just simply made a decision to exercise consistently, and yeah, we're here a year later. If it's really noisy, if the audio isn't amazing, it's because I'm filming this on my balcony. Before we wrap this video up, there's 3 segments that I want to discuss. First and foremost, if you're still watching, there's a good chance you're interested in what I have to say. However, I want to encourage you to take that interest 1 step further by taking action. Go on your first intentional walk, run, cycle, go to the gym, and tag me on Instagram at Lucasade using the hashtag MoveWithLuca. And also please drop a thumbs up on this video if you haven't already. It helps me out a ton by pushing this video out to a wider audience. The second thing I want to cover in this video is a little Q&A section. I posted a story on my Instagram basically asking if you guys had any questions about this whole journey. First question comes from Nathan Mint. How hard was it to stay committed? What's your advice? I think one of the biggest lessons throughout this whole process was you're more likely to do something, you're more likely to commit to something if there's a loss at hand. So as I continue to run, as I continue to build a streak, if I didn't run one day, I've lost that streak. So there was a huge incentive to keep going, and it's having that why. You need to have a strong purpose in doing something, otherwise you have no reason to commit. What tips would you give someone who isn't the best runner but wants to start? So it might not be the most inspiring advice, but little and often. In the early days, it's all about building momentum and gaining little victories. So set yourself a goal like, I'm going to run for 5 minutes without stopping. And then maybe a day or two later, you could say, okay, I'm going to run for 7 minutes without stopping, and then 10, and then 15. And then you can start setting yourself distance goals like, I'm going to run my first 5K. Take it in your own stride. Like, don't compare yourself to me, don't compare yourself to others. If you're starting out with running, it's going to suck. It's going to feel really difficult. But the thing that I experienced, and I know plenty of others do, is that the growth and the rate in which you progress is exponential. Like, you improve so quickly, and that in itself is motivating. So yeah. Sam Will 98, did you suffer any injuries, and if so, how did you manage? So yes, I did experience injuries. The first was kind of like moderate shin splints early into the challenge. My most severe injury was when I sprained my ankle. I can't remember what day exactly it was, but it was within the early 200s, and I was basically running late at night there was no street lights about, and I clipped my ankle on a curb, and all my weight just basically came crashing down on it. So yeah, it was a nasty injury, and I think for the weeks that followed, I couldn't run. I basically had to walk/jog. But that concludes this Q&A segment. Thank you for sending in those questions. And my last segment, it's probably my first kickflip in like 6 months. Let's see if we can still tray flip. Yeah, guess what that hit? Last 3, because my ankle is starting to hurt. Okay, well that was a waste. I don't want it to go down to the last attempt, because then it's pressure. So it's got to be this one. Right, I'm taking it. In this last segment of the video, I'm going to really briefly discuss the pros and cons of running every single day for a year. The first downside is it isn't the most effective way of getting better at running. Rest days are important and essential for recovery, so whenever I did a hard session or I went out for a long run, it would take a good 5 to 7 days before my legs felt good again. The second downside is it's just not the most practical. There are going to be some days where you're super busy, yet you need to find that time to get your run done, and sometimes it can be just an inconvenience. Say you're going away for a weekend, you need to make sure you pack your running gear and again find that time to get your run done. The third downside is that running becomes a priority. You saw it firsthand here. I haven't been able to skate for the last 6 months because of running. It bleeds into other areas as well. So for example, I couldn't go and play badminton. I couldn't have a social kickabout because that would then hurt my ankle, which means I can't run properly. Moving on, there are a ton of benefits that I've experienced, but they're not exclusive to running every day. As long as you run consistently or exercise consistently, you will also experience these benefits. So first and foremost, I became somewhat of a decent runner. I clocked around 2,500 kilometers for the year, which averages at around 4 miles per day or 7 kilometers per day. My fastest 5K was a 17:03, and overall I just really enjoyed the process of improving. The second benefit is that I found it's an amazing way to de-stress and find clarity. If I ever have a difficult life decision to make, or there's just something on my mind, I find that by going on a long run, I enter this blissful state of clarity, and that's something I've never experienced prior to running every day, so that is something I am super grateful for. And last but not least, exercise has become an integral part of my daily routine. I couldn't imagine my life without some form of movement. Running every day has inspired me to pick up swimming, weightlifting, cycling, and that list continues to grow. And that concludes episode 2 of Move More.